Okay, this is the 40-watt CO2 laser tube from my Chinese K40. I'm dealing with a failure, and what happened was my K40 set for about 8 months. I didn't use it, and then when I finally needed it, I hooked it up, and on my test fire, I got no laser output, but I got a massive discharge of high potential voltage from this anode that jumped straight across the case of the laser. Now, one typical failure that they have with these tubes, and there's nothing special about this tube. This is the normal typical tube that comes in a K40. If you notice, this is the back solid mirror with the water jackets, and this is the aperture where the coherent light escapes with the water jackets on it. But one typical failure these tubes will have is this anode will, let's see if I can get that in focus. This anode will separate from the metal ring on the lasing tube, or it'll blow in half, burn in half inside the glass insulation. Whichever way, it separates from the center, and you have no continuity from the anode into the CO2. And that's what I fully expected to find when I pulled this tube off. I expected this anode right here to be separated. However, upon pulling the tube, I noticed that I had water that wouldn't come out, and the water is actually inside the center tube. So what that means is my failure was that my center tube ruptured. I had a fracture and the CO2 escaped and water got in there, so now I just got a big test tube full of water. There's no way in hell that anything remotely close to laser light would ever come out of this. This is garbage. So it's a major failure. It's different than what I expected to find, but it's a major failure nevertheless. So anyway, to get this K40 back up and running, we're going to have another tube, and Gregory has sprung for the upgraded 45 watt, which is on the way. And it's similar, but it has metal ends on it instead of these glass ends. It has better water ports for water circulation, and it's actually rated for 45 watts, so slightly more power. I don't think there's going to be a big difference in the size, but if the dimensions are off too much, I might have to do some modification to the case and the tube holders and stuff. And if I do that, I will try to document whatever modifications we do to it. And then we will revisit the Chinese K40 when it's up and running.